You made your first investment when you were 11 years old?
In 1942, 80 years ago, I took $114.75, every penny I'd saved, and I bought 3 shares of City Service Preferred. I really had read every book in the Omaha Public Library that was on the stock market. By 11, I'll guarantee you. And some of them twice. When I was 11, I picked stocks. I had the whole wrong idea. I was interested in watching stocks, and I thought stocks were things that went up and down, and I charted them. I read books on technical analysis. I read Edwards and McGee. I think that was the classic then. Hundreds and hundreds of pages. And I read that whole thing over and over again. I read Garfield, Drew, I read everything. 8 years, I thought the important thing was to predict what a stock would do and predict the stock market. And then I read Ben Graham, when I was 19 or 20. And I realized that I was doing it exactly the wrong way. It didn't hurt that I had that background and everything. And I rejiggered my mind and when I read the book, The Intelligent Investor. And from that point, I never bought another stock. I bought businesses that happened to be publicly traded, but I became an owner of a business. I did not care whether a stock went up or down the next day or the next week or the next month or the next year, and I didn't have any idea what it would do. I didn't know what the stock market would do, but I knew businesses.
I've asked people about your genius.
Now, I'm a bright guy who's terribly interested in what he does. So I've spent a lifetime doing it, and I've surrounded myself with people that bring out the best in me. And you don't need to be a genius in what I do. That's the good thing about it. If I went into physics or a whole lot of other subjects, I'd be an also-ran. But I am in a game that you don't need. You probably need 120 points of IQ. But 170 doesn't do any better than 120. It may do worse, probably do worse, but you don't really need brains. You need the right orientation. 90% of the people, I'm pulling a figure out of the air, but 90% of the people that buy stocks don't think of them the right way. They hope goes up next week. And they think about the market as something they hope goes up. And if it's down, they feel worse. I feel better.
And you think about?
I think about what the company's going to be worth 10 or 20 years from now. And I hope it goes down when I buy it because I'll buy more.
Do you have a killer instinct?
Nah, not exactly. I wouldn't call it a killer instinct, but I do know this. When I want to do something, I always want to do it big. I put my whole net worth in City Service Preferred.
$120.
$114.75. And I put my whole net worth in, and I've never, since that day, and I have never had less than 80% of my money in American business. You can call them stocks.
Or equities.
But I see them as American business. I've owned a piece of American business, or at least 80%. I don't want to own anything else. I want to own a home and things my family wants and all that. But owning 5 homes doesn't mean anything to me because I'm going to be happy in one home, and there's a certain amount of things that go wrong with everything. And if I got 2 homes, I know I've got more problems and I don't have more happiness.
What brings you the happiness?
I would have to honestly say that what makes me happiest is what I'm doing.
Allocating
I
capital.
enjoy 2 things about it. One, I know I'll win over time. That doesn't mean I'll beat everybody else or anything like that, but I'm in a game that's very, very, very easy if you have the right lessons in your mind about what you're buying. I'm not buying stocks. I'm buying pieces of overwhelmingly American business. And I'm happy when I'm doing it. I'm happier when stocks are going down because I can buy more of them with the same amount of money. I'd be happy if I was a farmer. I'd want farmland to go down so I could buy more acreage. If I was, it just makes sense. And I'll tell you the second thing I really like. I like being trusted by people. And, I would rather do what I do with partners than do it sitting in a room myself, even though I might make more money that way.
You like the idea that people are trusting you with their savings.
Yeah. They just say, look, I've saved money, I don't know what to do with it. And most of them give it to me with the idea that it's for the lifetime. And then most of them, they've done this a long time ago, most of them give it away when they get through. They never quit saving. And then they say, keep it and just keep building it. And they don't do it with the idea they're going to retire when they're 65 and then build great castles or anything like that.
For you to make a big investment, what do you need to know?
I need to know that I think that Berkshire Hathaway is going to be worth more money someday down the road. Not tomorrow. I want it to go down. If I'm buying something, I would say this: the world has changed a lot. In 2000, 2 years ago, when the pandemic. Just think about it.
Because of the pandemic.
The pandemic. It's almost exactly 2 years later.
We expect the Fed will raise the rates. Does it remind you of 1970s?
Everything that happens in the investment world reminds me of something or other. I mean, every day. If it's a boring day, it reminds me of something. But I don't think that way. All I'm trying to do is buy businesses. Let's pretend there is no stock market. Let's say I had to buy these privately, like you buy a farm privately, like you buy an apartment house privately. They're investments. So you're looking to say, what can I do with money I've saved to put it away so I feel good about getting it back later under any circumstances, but not necessarily on a given moment. But if I have a farm, it's going to take me a while. But people would be so much better if they actually didn't have a stock market in terms of buying business.
I think you may have heard this. Lenin once said, there are decades when nothing happens, and then there are weeks when decades happen.
That's very well put. And when you're buying businesses, don't call them stocks. When you're buying businesses, when you're buying apartment houses, sometimes when you're buying raw land, all kinds of things. There's times when you get a chance to act and do something really intelligent. May happen once every 10 years, once every 20 years. Depends on what field you're in, where you live, what you know, all of that.
But also things happen in the world, like the pandemic.
That's true too.
And it can change everything, as it did.
It happened in 1929.
It happened in 1918,
I forget when the things were in 1907. When they closed the stock exchange back in 1914 for a long period of time. People don't ever think about that. 9/11, they closed the stock exchange for a few days.
Can we talk about the global economy then? In terms of
Well,
where we are.
I can tell you where we are, but
Yeah.
but
Let me phrase it this way in terms of the global economy. You look at the United States.
United States economy, and it's very easy to look at the statistics on it. A greater percentage of the American population is wealthy now, or having more income now than they've ever had. That doesn't mean everybody's wealthy, but it does mean relative to any other period of time, people have more money now. Right today, Charlie.
You live in an environment.
Yeah, you live in an environment where bottom 2% in terms of income in the United States, the bottom 5%, and for sure the top 1%, all live better than John D. Rockefeller was living when I was 6 years old. John D. Rockefeller was the richest man in the world. And today, you can get better medicine, better education, better entertainment, better transportation. You can do everything better than he could.